Right, Mike.
Hello. Can
Hi,
you
how
hear
you
me all
doing?
right, Tim? I'm
I'm,
good.
I'm just going to introduce things. So I'm going to introduce myself. So I'm Tim Hughes, co-founder of Digital Leadership Associates, also author of the book Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. Also, it's Christmas Jumper Day, and we're
Didn't
taking
realise.
part. So I've got my Christmas jumper on, so you can see. Just show you that my Christmas. Oh, that's that way. My Christmas jumper. So Mike, introduce yourself so people know who you are, where you're from, and where they can find you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tim. First of all, can you hear me all right? I know I'm in a
Yes, I can.
slightly echoey room, but which is why I've put my
No. The
my headset.
headset works best of all if you use a headset with this.
Super. Okay, so yeah, my name's Mike Bainbridge. I'm Chief Digital Technologist at Rackspace. And for those of you who've not heard of Rackspace, we're a managed services company for cloud technology. So across a wide range of clouds and infrastructure solutions, we help customers go online and really optimize their online experience. And in my role as digital technologist, I'm part of our advisory services team at Rackspace, which is, for people who aren't aware of I suppose the industry standard definition of advisory services, it's almost like a mini version of consultancy. And my role is kind of split between two parts in that. So one is working with our customers to help them understand digital technology and this. I dread to use the word disruption. It's probably one of the most overused terms at the moment, but this digital transformation, understanding new ways of working and how people can adapt their business to that.
And you're not in sales, are you, Mike?
I'm
You're
not,
not a
no.
quota-carrying salesman, and I'm just saying that because from what we're going to talk about, I want people to understand is that you're not a quota-carrying salesperson.
That's right. So and my the second half to my role is kind of evangelism. So speaking at events, working with our research partners, people like Forrester and Gartner, to really provide some thought leadership around what we do, and using social and engaging with customers and prospects and other Rackspace employees on social media as well. So from a background perspective, like you said, yeah, I'm not in sales. My background has always been technical. So prior to my current role, I was an architect, an e-commerce architect. So much more of a pre-sales role. So I've often worked quite closely with sales teams, but I've never been a quota carrier.
So Mike, one of the things, in terms of your experience, I mean, you're a reader of my book. You very kindly did a review on LinkedIn about it as well. And gave me a review on Amazon. But what we want to talk about today was about how personal branding was important for people not in sales. Mm-hmm. How social selling, in inverted commas, I'm doing inverted commas, that was important, but you're not in sales. And how people who are not in sales can use social, because you are very socially active. And we could wrap that up into a personal brand. I mean, you've now built up an extremely fantastic personal brand, and you've done that by being on social. And you engage with people. I've seen you were at the HP conference, and you were engaging people on social. So really, rather than me tell people, it's important on these things. I don't tell people what to do. It's about educating people and getting other people with experience to say, this is what I've done to enable me to build my personal brand. So let's kind of start there. What have you been doing, Mike, in terms of, how did you start off in social, and what do you do to build your personal brand, and why have you done it?
Okay. Yeah. And going back historically, I think I was always a frustrated writer. Maybe I think everyone is. Everyone wants to. If you ask everyone, a list of 10 things to do before you die, write a book is probably on one of them. But I thought I wanted to, and I did some freelance web design way back in the late 90s, and so I had a blog, and I didn't really know what to write on it. And that kind of got put to one side, and probably about 5 years ago, I decided to, actually give it a proper go again. And by then,
because we always recommend that people need to find what it is that they want to be famous for. And I got the feeling that you now know what you want to be famous for. You've never told me, but
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
your tweets and that I know that there's something there you want to be famous for.
Yeah, and it's evolving a bit, and I think actually how it started really was about sharing experience, and something that you said that was really a really interesting point I got from your book actually was this difference between network and community, and how in social people are much more willing to share experience and connect you to people, and so and it was a lot of it was for my peers and for other people in the industry to share best practice, and it started off as fairly technical around hosting and technology and e-commerce.
And why do you think it's important?
Kind of evolved.
Because I think it's because I've worked for organisations where knowledge was power, and where you deliberately held information in because that's what made you keep your job. Mm-hmm. And why and it was quite it was a turnaround of culture at 180 degrees to actually start doing it differently and saying, right, I'm going to share what I know.
And that's a really interesting point, and I don't know if anyone's really got. I don't know if I really know what the answer is. I think it's I think either you're a sharer or you aren't, and it's not. I don't think it's a conceited thing like, I want to show you all the great knowledge I've got, or, look how good I am. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's more altruistic than that.
So Thomas Power has this theory which he calls ORS, which I should know the answer to, which is he actually sees corporate culture as being very restrictive in its thinking. It's hierarchical in its thinking, and generally what you do, again, it's about holding back. If you've got to keep the information, you've got the power. Where with ORS, he talks about the fact that we now need to work in networks because we need to work across organizations, we need to work across the line of business, and that involves sharing. And sharing knowledge across the organization, because the organization actually has more value to it if we share than actually if we hold it into ourselves.
And one of the things that's happening at Rackspace and has started probably about 12 months ago, and I know you had a chat with Liz recently. One of my colleagues here is around social enablement.
Yes, another Tim talk with Liz. She's fantastic.
Yeah, and getting people to share, and getting people to understand that it's okay to share. That's kind of one of the first messages is around showing what you know is a good thing, and the more you share, the more people see you as a thought leader, if you were, the more they're willing to share things back. And one of the things I think that I've really taken away from particularly my engagement on Twitter and LinkedIn is not so much just what I'm sharing, but also what I learn. I mean, I get a lot of my news comes through, people I follow on Twitter. Most of the great stories that I share and really interesting that I read, I get from other people sharing. So a lot of the time, I'm sharing other people's finds, and the power of that connected network. Obviously the spider web of connections that goes out from the 2 people you might know and the 4 people they might know and the 6 people they might know, and that additional reach, the community, I suppose, is what's become really attractive to me now.
If you look at certain people on Twitter, what you'll find is that they have a commonality in terms of the community that they have. And some of those people I know that have been on Twitter for probably 5, 6, 7, or even longer years have built networks and have friendships that have been on for that long. I mean, the fact that people can have had friendships for 7 years, sometimes even in life, you don't have friendships that have lasted that long. I mean, that's quite a long time. But if you go and look at certain people, you can actually, you can get tools to do it, but you can actually look at it manually and you can actually see the way that people are connected. And the visualization diagrams are nice, but I think it's going back to what you were saying also about knowledge. My view is that every day is a school day. And I'm on social media to learn, and which is kind of why I suggest people that they need to be educating their customer because they're on here to learn as well.
Yeah, and that to me is a key point. And I think when a lot of people don't get social, and you give the example in your book of the maybe it's the sales director or the CEO thinking that social media is where people share pictures of their food or the dogs and that sort of thing. Sure, there are some elements of fun to it as well, and I think probably the adoption by younger generations is maybe what gives that impression. But there's a huge benefit to people from not necessarily look at the things I'm sharing and look at the network I'm building, but look at what I'm consuming as well, which is completely invaluable to me. And actually going back on the network point, and the friendship point, there's people on social media. Actually, there's probably people on social media who I've engaged with, and I maybe haven't even met in real life yet, but I would still consider to be a friend, because I know we share common things. We have an interaction online. I guess obviously that's what I call social media. But it's absolutely to the point you made there. The strength of the friendship and those commonalities is really, really important.
And so that's important to you for both your business and your personal life.
Yeah. So and I think there's two ways that it's sort of helped me. I think why, and going back to the opening topic of discussion, how does the social media help a non-salesperson, or why is it important for that? I think now probably more than ever, more than 10 years ago, more than 20 years ago, in the always on connected world, the lines between work and non-work, or work and social, however you want to call them, are much more blurred. We're always on. You can get email 24 hours a day. Most people, I think if you challenged most people, for most organizations, say, did you check your work email at the weekend? Did you even not have a peek? Most people have a peek just to make sure there's no disaster, or something's not going on. So those boundaries have blurred. So while there's probably, from a professional perspective, it's helped me. Also from a personal perspective, and that personal brand. I mean, because of my blog and because of my engagement on social media, I've been invited to write for other publications. I appear on some other blogs. I've written articles for eConsultancy and for Brand Quarterly, and these are separate to work. So I do them on my own time. I write in the evenings and at the weekends, but they get published, and Mike Bainbridge is a technologist at Rackspace. It adds benefit to what I do in my days off as well.
So there's a benefit to Rackspace, the brand, as there is to Mike Bainbridge as well.
Yeah,
and I don't know about you. I'm just so for me, every piece of content that I put out, there's always, it's like it always brings something else. If I always keep a heartbeat of content, because now I run my own company. I'm looking for people to come and say, Tim, can you come and help me? But even more so now, it's about having that heartbeat of content, because ultimately things then start coming in.
Yeah.
So you must be getting inbound.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so this year as well, so as part of my role, I speak on behalf of Rackspace, and almost like as an evangelist, where Rackspace sponsors events, or we host executive dinners, and they need someone to speak and tell the story. I do that. But this year, for the first time, I was invited to speak at three independent, regardless of Rackspace, we want you, Mike Bainbridge, as a speaker to come and talk to our customers or our clients or whoever it is. And I'm getting more and more of those now. So as a speaker and someone who's recognised, and that's something I enjoy doing as well. that's great. Regardless of
that must have other impact. That must have other benefits to the brand, because from an employee advocacy perspective, if there are people out there that are either they don't know, they haven't heard of Rackspace, but now they do through Mike. Customers or prospects may do that, or people are actually in the job market and they're thinking, who is it that I should apply for? Again, that they're hearing great things about Rackspace, and from you or from the articles that you're putting out, that must have an impact. It might not be measurable, but it should have some sort of impact.
Yeah, absolutely. So I spoke at the customer experience, or C Excellence, the customer experience conference this year, and part of it was around speaking about employee engagement, and I use Rackspace as an example because I work there, so I told the Rackspace story. But you touched on a very interesting point there, the measurement of this sort of thing. It's really difficult to actually measure it in terms of pounds and pence sometimes, I think, or dollars and cents, actually correlating. We've tried some metrics here. I've tried to work with some of the guys here to, we work on this basis of generating contacts. So contacts who you would add into your CRM, people you've met, people who give you a business card and or want to learn more. And then if they go through the nurture funnel and eventually become opportunities, but that can be such a long time period. But that influencer status, and again, the influencing and engagement with change makers in other organizations that you talk about is very true. And what the one example that I can share with you is one guy who saw me speaking at a non-Rackspace hosted event. It was a marketing one. He was the CMO for a company. He's actually a Rackspace customer. He said, "Oh, you need to meet our CIO." So I've got a meeting arranged with the CIO, and I went and spoke to the account manager within our organization. He's like, "Oh, I've never spoken to a CIO before. I only talked to the IT guy who signs off the platform." So it immediately means now within that organization,
that's
a much higher influence level. Yeah.
And sometimes I think that with all due respect to your sales guy, sometimes I think the comfort zone is to actually sit down to whether it's IT or business, we tend to deal with the people that we know. And really, we kind of need to be elevating ourselves up. I was talking to somebody the other day who's an Australian guy, and he was dealing with a bank, and they've got something like 2,000. The bank has 2,000 IT suppliers, and his question was, "How do you differentiate yourself?" And it's like, and the answer that he usually gets is, "Oh, well, we got some really great white papers." It's like, sorry, but white papers don't differentiate you. CIOs. If an organization will have a number of top people, the Microsofts and the Oracles and maybe the SAPs and the IBMs, and then what happens is you've got this whole massive layer of other suppliers, of which this particular Australian bank had 2,000. So how do you differentiate yourself? And my view is that people need to be building credible people who are thought leaders, and it's not just saying, "Hey, we're going to take somebody who's got 5 Twitter followers," which is what I've seen, and say this person is now a thought leader. They're not. They might be a thought leader in your head, but in everybody else's head, they're not, because I just look at it and say, "Well, you've got 5. You don't even. How can you say that you understand social media if you've got 5 followers?" Whereas CIOs and that want to deal with people who are going to give them insight. Tell me something I don't know. Something. Tell me. What is it that tell me something that your customers are doing that's going to make a measurable impact into my organization. And they're not going to get that from, with all due respect to your average salesperson. They're going to look to somebody probably outside of that, and especially someone like yourself who's actively social. I mean, if I go through, I was looking to see who was actually involved in the HP event, and certain people pop up, and then as we talked about their networks, there's certain people you go, "Oh, that's interesting," and oh, they're connected to these people. And so if I, so it's like, so for example, if I want to get to these people, I can go through this person. It's from a sales, the fact that all these footprints are online, as a salesperson, it just amazes me. But for a non-salesperson, getting access wider and deeper in an account is so important.
And you know what? Sometimes I think I've got an advantage because I'm not a salesperson.
Yeah.
I don't have the sales role, so and it's that differentiation between thought leadership and sales pitch. It's a fine line to walk, I think. Sometimes,
Well, there's a spinal tap quote, which is there's a fine line between being clever and stupid. But there's a in a sales environment, when somebody, whatever name you put on your badge, whether it's account manager or whatever, you're a salesman, and that gives you certain advantages because it gives you the right to say, come on, are we going to do this? How do we actually make the order? And they're the questions that you would expect. You expect to be closed, but there's always that non-salesperson that people will turn to and say, "Is this a really good thing? What do you think, Mike?" Yeah, and it's like, well, yeah, okay. And then and there's always that, certainly in a large enterprise B2B perspective, but with so many of our customers online doing their due diligence, they're going to want to actually see somebody. And I remember doing some work in the past with a large B2B IT company, and we looked at their pre-sales people, and 40% of them didn't even have photos on LinkedIn.
Yeah, criminal.
Not even about not being active. They didn't even have photos. So I remember I used to basically put up, do a presentation where I used to put up, one of their photos and then their competition, and say, so who would you choose? And you haven't even had a demo yet.
Yeah.
And they'd all look at the floor and go, yeah, the competition. That's like, yes. Yeah. There's a competitive battle going on out there on social, and people aren't even turning up.
Yeah, and you touch on a really great point, and I think another one of the benefits to Rackspace that Rackspace gets because of my engagement and social presence is the cultural piece. So a lot of people say LinkedIn, wrongly in my mind, and while there's some part to it, a lot of people say LinkedIn is your online CV. But we're not always looking for new jobs, but other people are, and it's amazing when people come and ask me and they want to know about Rackspace, and the number of times people say, "Oh, Rackspace, I see all your posts. I saw you won that award for a great engagement or best places to work or this. So you got any jobs going?" And it's a great through social connections. Of course, some our internal hiring guys go on LinkedIn, but there's a much more broadcasting. Yeah. We've got these jobs available. What people? Oh, have you got any jobs going? And if someone's good, that's to get really good talent. Is obviously one of the
getting good talent is always difficult. And there's always things like Glassdoor, and I always raise that at presentations, and most people go, "What's that?" And it's like. Yeah. What I don't understand is where I expect HR departments to have budget for social selling programs or employee advocacy programs or personal branding, because from a learning and development perspective, I would have thought that they would want to externalize their culture or externalize how great and fun it is to work at that organization, because ultimately they've got to try and source the talent that is so scarce out there.
Yeah, and look how many recruiters there are on LinkedIn. So just like every member of the organization is a sales team, every member of the organization is a recruiter as well, effectively. Yeah. So Tim, I've got a question for you, if I can.
Oh, this happened while I was interviewing Les. Yeah,
well, it's a conversation. So one of the things I admire about you online is the amount, or not the amount. That's the wrong word. The consistent relevance and the consistent content you share, primarily on LinkedIn. The blog style articles. Do do you write? Do you have a content calendar? Do you sit down at, say, the start of the month and plan what you're going to do, or how many articles you write? Because it's something I wouldn't say I struggle with, but it's something where it's maybe I feel it's a bit ad hoc, and I wonder if I should put more structure in place around it. So I'd love to know what your method is. I've been asking a few people.
My recommendation is you need to have structure, because whether you're blogging outside of or say on your own blog or on LinkedIn, in a way, what happens is that people are creatures of habit, and so are the Google spiders. So if we take, well, from an outside blog perspective, so one of the things that you need to be doing is you need to be building up relevance. Call it your Google juice on Google, and so you need to, from an SEO perspective, you need to work out what it is that you're going to you want to be famous for, and then kind of break that down to a search criteria if you want to be really clever. And then whenever you write something, you need to have what it is that you want to be famous for written in that document at some stage. So every time Google goes through and anyone basically goes to Google and searches on something, it's looking for something that's relevant. So the fact that you've got so guest blogging is really important, because but you need to be thinking about your backlinks, because you'll get Google juice for backlinks as well. So Google will be searching on and saying, right, I know, cloud architect. So it will be seeing this blog here is cloud architect. These articles over here are cloud architects, and they all connect with you. Therefore, you must be, the world's leading. Someone types in the world's leading cloud architect. Kind of that would bring you up, at least on the first page. And one of the things that it does is that one of the things that Google will do is sometimes if you actually start posting on your blog at a regular time on a particular day, it will actually be there waiting for you, the spider. So you're and the same on LinkedIn is that I will generally blog on a Monday, and partly because it kind of whooshes through the week. You do get different types of people on Saturday and Sunday on LinkedIn, but usually what I would do is I would blog on a Monday and then it go through. And most people, I think, if I keep doing it on Monday, I kind of feel that that people are waiting there for it. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean it has to be a Monday. It could be a Wednesday.
And did you pick Monday arbitrarily, or did you use some sort of tool to tell you the best day to post?
No,
just start of the week, giving it a whole 5 days to.
No, I don't bother any of that. There's lots of articles that say you should post at these particular times, but if we all actually followed that posted, it's the wrong time. So I had dinner. I was at a dinner that was sponsored by Spreadfast, they're a social media analytics tool, and I was sitting next to somebody from the BBC, and the BBC did I won't say who it was, because anyway, they did a sneaky look at what BuzzFeed were doing, on the basis that BuzzFeed are like the best people that are out there on the net. And they worked out that they kind of posted something. It kind of looked like BuzzFeed person came in the morning, had a cup of coffee, and they posted something. They then, when I had another cup of coffee at 11, then came back and posted something else. Then they posted something just about before they went to lunch. Then when they came back from lunch, and then before they went away on 4:30, before they went off on, they finished. And they said that there was no scientific way. It was just purely based on probably just someone sitting down and posting, and it's pretty much what I do. I mean, my view is that it is not to hold back on something. I just generally, if it's there, I post it, because generally if I don't, I forget or whatever. So it just and Twitter is just so fast moving that even if you posted something, it only lasts for 15 minutes. I think buffer say it's like 15 minutes or something before it disappears into everything else. So so post and post regularly.
Yeah, and you know what?
Don't be afraid of posting like 20 times a day.
Okay, and I posted an article based on when Buffer said would be most optimal for my network. I posted something on Twitter about top leadership books of the year or something, I think it was, and it got a couple of likes and retweets. And I posted the same thing this weekend, and maybe different people are looking at different things at the weekend, and they find different things more interesting to read.
Yes.
But this weekend, I think on a Saturday or Sunday, and I got more than a dozen retweets and likes. That's exactly the same.
My view is that you get either a different person, or people are looking for different things at the weekend. So the weekend is still relevant, but it's relevant in a different way. And I don't use a lot. Well, we use Brandwatch for our customers. To give them, governance and decent set of reports. But from my own personal stuff, it tends to be just gut reaction and a feel. Yeah. So I don't have data behind that. But my view is that I still see the weekend as really important for posting, but you get a different impact. And I think quite often you get more engagement because people have more time to actually to engage. They'll sit down for 20 minutes, whereas they might be just 10 minutes waiting to go into a meeting or something during the week. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. It does. Yeah, it does. And I'm trying to. The thing you say about regularity is something I'm trying to aim for, particularly on LinkedIn at the moment, because we're creatures of habit. People get used to seeing, Mike's posting on a Friday. His last 4 have been on a Friday or a Wednesday or whenever it is. So but
it's also, if you think about when you're looking through your newsfeed, or there's certain people that you look out for. There's certain people that you like. There's certain people whose content that you know is quality. But there's also people out there which is noise. It's just utter rubbish. And so therefore, you'll look through your newsfeed, or you'll be paging through your Twitter, and then you'll go, oh, that's interesting, or that's interesting. And it's about making sure that individuals stand out and become one of those. Just don't post for the sake of it. If you're going to post 20 times a day, make sure that every post counts. It's got to be quality stuff. But if you're posting a lot and you're going, yeah, I like that, well, that's good, people will engage, and then you'll get more followers. Because at the end of the day, it's if you're posting out crappy white papers that nobody wants to read, then you won't get any followers.
Yeah. And actually, I did an interesting little experiment on social media with a separate account, where I shared what are effectively the same articles as my normal account, but didn't do anything else. I was just sharing things out. I wasn't retweeting or liking other people's things. I wasn't commenting or engaging. And that other account, it built up some following early on, but then nothing happened. I was posting on it. Sometimes I was scheduling up to 10 to 20 posts a day, just constant out, but no engagement. And there were no retweets, no likes, whereas my account where I was posting on, and it was just an experiment really to see, the actual value or benefit of engagement. And I think that's the that's the key. And I know it's something that you highlight in your book. It's that two-way, the interaction, the social part, rather than what's the analogy used of walking into a bar and shouting, "Hey guys, I'm a cloud salesman who wants to talk to me," or something similar.
Yeah, or walking up to the bar and saying, getting a drink, and then saying, "What do you do? What brings you here?" Like that, and that's. And as long as it's also a bit like dating, you never go on a date and then propose marriage, do you? You can't find out about that person, their values, what they like to do, and they might like certain things you don't like, So anyway, Mike, that's been fantastic. It's been insightful. So so tell people where they can get hold of you again.
Yeah, absolutely. So on Twitter, I'm pretty active as.
What's your Twitter handle?
Mike, DGTL Mike.
Okay, and you're and on LinkedIn, you're Mike Bainbridge.
Bainbridge. That's right. Yeah, and what? If you search for me, as you say in your book, you'll find me pretty regularly. So Mike Bainbridge. That's right. Yeah, and you know what? If you search for me, as you say in your book, you'll find me pretty regularly. pretty high at the Google. There is a famous Dr. Mike Bainbridge who lives in Derbyshire.
Right.
He's a surgeon and has done some
You're not him.
documentaries on Channel 4. But I'm not him. He's a bit older than me, but people should be able to recognise me from the picture.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks very much.
Tim,
have a good day.
Talk to you. You too.